He hit me before the pack, so the Alpha King marked me with blood. They dragged me out of the attic by my elbow, charcoal still on my fingers, the drawing of a running wolf crushed under Lord Harrow Vane's boot. Enough, he said, like the word could erase bruises and 10 winters of obedience. You will keep your mouth shut in court, Nessa. Nod when I nod. Breathe when I permit it. I wasn't planning to breathe, I muttered. The backhand didn't surprise me. The restraint did. He saved the show for an audience. We rode through iron gates into Greycourt Hall, where the ceilings were built to make people feel small. Banners hung like nooses. Alphas and betas packed the stone benches. Omegas weren't invited unless they'd already lost. Lord Vane, the herald called. And Ward. I kept my eyes on the floor, on a single crack in the stone, a crooked vein, like something under the skin that kept refusing to die. Harrow swanned to the center circle and laced his voice with pity. My household suffers a delicate shame. My brother's orphan is ungrateful. She lured a respectable beta, confused him, refused a contract I negotiated in good faith. I bring her for correction. For the good of the pack. Correction. He meant spectacle. Whispers crawled over me. Omega. Soft. He's right to stamp it out. The stairs to the throne were obsidian. The man on it didn't move. A shadow in a crown. Harrow pivoted to me with a smile he wore like a fresh blade. Apologize, Nessa. No. He grabbed my chin, hard, and jerked my face up. Look at me when I... The slap cracked like a shot. Heat bloomed white under my eye. My balance went sideways for a heartbeat. Silence slammed the room. A sound answered it, low, feral, like a landslide deciding. The shadow on the throne stood, slow, deliberate. He came down the steps like he was walking through a forest he'd already killed. Release her, the Alpha King said. Doggone Rook looked at Harrow's hand like it didn't know it belonged to a body. He wasn't handsome in the way bards sing. He was the reason they invent monsters. Scar along the jaw. Eyes like burned amber. Hands that had done things there weren't words for in polite rooms. Harrow's fingers opened. Your Majesty, a family matter. Doggone didn't look at him. He looked at me, at the bruise building, at the charcoal ground into my thumbnail. Touch her again, he said softly, and I will take that hand off your arm. Power changed temperature in the hall. All those bigger, richer wolves inhaled like prey. Doggone faced the dais. By King's prerogative, pending inquiry, Nessa Crow is removed from Lord Vane's custody and placed under royal protection. He didn't ask the council. He didn't need to. Harrow's mouth did that thin thing it does when the mask wants to slip and he staples it back on. As my king decrees. 2 black guard moved in, polite hands, steel in the posture. They formed around me without touching. Doggone's gaze met mine again. Not pity. Not comfort. Assessment. Recognition's knife edge. A wrong note that sounded right in my bones. Come, he said. You won't sleep in a house where you're hit. I should have been afraid. I was. Also, something else. Something I didn't have words for yet. They call it a castle. It isn't. Black spire grows out of the cliff like something with a spine. Wind claws at it. Wolves watch from the ramparts. Inside, the corridors smell of oil, steel, ash. No silk. No softness. A place built for surviving. He led me to a set of rooms with a fire already lit. A bed that looked like a dare, not comfort. A table scattered with maps and knives. A balcony with an iron rail and a drop that would split a body into memory. You're safe here. Doggone's voice carried its own weather. Safe or confined? I asked. There's a difference. He tilted his head, actually thinking it through. Both. There are men here who would hurt you to earn a mark from me. You don't wander. When you leave these rooms, you do it on my arm or under my guards. So a better cage. A cage that keeps you breathing. He shouldered the door. Stopped. Why didn't you defend yourself? Against a lord? In his hall? With what, my manners? He studied me like a puzzle with one piece missing. Eat, he said. Sleep. Tomorrow, answer to Sable in the archives. She will take your measure. Why? Slipped out. He turned half back, the fire licking one side of his face. Because you didn't flinch, he said. And because I don't like the sound a hand makes on a girl's face. The archive wasn't dusty. It was dangerous. Shelves taller than houses, ladders like spears. A basin of black stone sunk into the floor, lip carved with runes that made my eyes ache. Touch that and it bites, said a woman in ink-stained sleeves. Sable. King says I'm to keep you occupied so you don't go get killed being stubborn. Read? Enough. I glanced at the basin. What is it? Moonwater. Memory caught in stone. The old kings bled their secrets into it. The smart ones didn't look. The dumber ones made laws from what they saw. She pressed a ledger into my hands. Start with lineages. Vane's line. Yours. I don't have. You have. Sable's eyes cut like glass. They hid it. That's different. Hours vanish faster when you're starving. Names. Contracts. The way power pretends to be honor in ink. A symbol scratched half out in the corner beside my mother's name, Thorn Crescent. A note in a hand that didn't belong to any scribe, Licara. Fairy story. The goddess's first wolves. Old blood that doesn't break. People whisper it, then laugh. They stop laughing when men like Harrow get interested. A shadow fell across my page. The ledger snapped out from under my palms. Dagon slammed it shut. Out, he said, lower than the forge. Is it true? I shot back. Is that my mother's blood? Is that why Harrow kept me like a debt? You don't know what you're asking. He crowded the table until the wood pressed into my hip. And you don't walk through a room full of tripwires with your eyes closed. Then open them for me. We were a breath apart. He looked at my mouth. I looked at his. For a second the world narrowed to that stupid, necessary distance. He made a sound like a man pulling himself off a hook. Leave, he said. And don't come back here alone. Sable watched me go with a look that said, good. Now you're awake. Trouble wears a smile if it wants to get close. Corin Hales was expensive. Silver hair. Pale eyes. A predator who makes it feel like you chose to be prey. He cornered me between shelves 2 days later. You're the king's new interest. I'm a person, I said. Try again. People don't rearrange thrones, he said. His fingers brushed my forearm. What did you do to him, little Omega? Existing. You won't for long if you stand against the wrong men. Like you? I didn't step back. Or like the ones behind you who don't want to get their hands dirty. The shelf behind Corin creaked. Then it didn't. Because Dagon had a hand fisted in the front of Hale's tunic and the other braced beside his head. Don't touch her, Dagon said. Hale's smile didn't reach his eyes. Majesty. I congratulate you on your taste. The beast climbed up Dagon's spine like it had claws. For a second I saw it staring through his eyes at Hale like he was meat. Dagon. My voice didn't shake. He looked, teeth bared, then chose to shove Corin away instead of through the wood. When we were alone he rounded on me. Guards. Always. I don't have time to peel men off you. I was in a library, I said. Books bite less than lords, apparently. He stared. Then, barely, huffed. Don't make me choose between killing friends and burying you. Are they friends? No, he said. But I know where to put their bodies. Break time equals 0. 5s/. He brought Lady Mael of the Frost March to dinner. The rumor machine yelped and wagged. She laughed with her hand on his sleeve. He tolerated it like a stitch that wouldn't stop itching. I watched from a balcony, jaw tight. When Miles' fingers curled around the crook of his elbow, Dagon went still the way a wired trap does. The sound in his chest is not one you can learn to ignore once you've heard it. A growl held between teeth. He stepped away without making it a scene. I breathed again, angry at myself for breathing because of him. Sable found me later. You think distance means disinterest? She asked. You must be new to men who survived war. They court by pretending they're not already bleeding. He's pushing me away. He's putting you behind his shield and telling the archers to shoot him first. She shrugged. Not bright. Very male. The palace keeps secrets in the grout. Stand still enough, the stones tell you who means to stab you. I waited outside the council room and listened through my bones. He's slipping, said Marlo Theron, the elder who smiles at widows when he steals their land. He slammed hail over the Omega. The beast is winning. We invoke the old rule. Challenge at the harvest moot. Witnesses. We win even if we lose. Val, Lord Vane, another voice. He'll deliver the girl. Or a corpse. Either will work. I went to Dagon with it. He listened without a blink. Thank you, he said. Stay in your rooms. That's it? That's it. The door closed. The rage was cold this time. I stopped knocking on doors that wouldn't open and started checking windows. They didn't wait for the moot. Old men hungry for crowns never do. The charge was witchcraft. It's always witchcraft when men need a reason to leash women. They brought a crude doll bound with a strand of dark hair and a servant girl under oath who swore she'd heard me chanting at midnight. The parchment with seals felt heavy as a sentence. Dagon hit the room like a blade. Release her. Marlo lifted the scroll. Old law. Trial is immediate. Not even you sit above it. A heartbeat of hesitation. I saw it. It didn't matter why. Politics, caution, the 1,000 knives aimed at him already. It landed like betrayal all the same. They took me. Harrow was waiting in the corridor, leaning on a pillar like this was a family supper. He touched my sleeve like we were dear. Your mother liked making little rhymes, he whispered. This will put you right. He slid a dagger out just enough that moonlight found the black sheen on the blade. Wolfsbane oil. My stomach went cold in a new way. Harrow smiled with his teeth. See you at dawn. The dungeon is where hope goes to rot. They chained me high enough that my shoulders screamed. Water dripped like time learning to crawl. They called it a trial. It was a script. I learned the ending at dusk, execution at first light. Above me, something howled. Not a wolf. A man who'd run out of time pretending to be one. The corridor shook. Iron screamed. The door left the wall and flew. Dagon filled the space with rage that had already chosen targets. He ripped the chain staples out of mortar and caught me before I fell. I didn't think I had tears left. Apparently the body hoards them for when a man who terrifies you says, I'm sorry, like it hurts his throat. We moved. Blackguard bodies on the stones. Dagon staggered once, caught himself, kept going. We hit a courtyard forgotten by sane people, ivy, broken fountain, moon bleaching everything to bone. Marlo stepped from the dark with a dozen elites and a silver-edged blade. It ends tonight, he said. Dagon pushed me behind him and fought like a man trying to hold a building on his shoulders. He took 3 down before the silver kissed him. The cut bled black. He dropped to one knee, breath tearing, vision gone. Leave them, Harrow called. He walked into the light like a stage had been waiting. Let the poison work. The elites flowed away. Harrow crouched in front of me. Up close, you could see his pores. He smelled like expensive soap and old rot. Want the truth? He held up the dagger with pride. This ended your mother. It will do for you. Cold bloomed in my belly where he drove it. The world went white. Then very far away. Doggone made a sound I will hear when I'm old. He crawled to me and gathered me up, and something inside him tore itself loose. Bones popped. Tendons sang. He changed fast and hard, too big, too black, eyes like coals from a dead fire that wasn't dead. The howl that ripped out of him bent the night. Moonlight thickened. That's the only way to describe it. It poured over the stones and into my mouth and into the wound like water finding a crack and deciding to live there. The pain went quiet. Then it went backwards. I inhaled like I'd been drowning for years and forgot air existed. I sat up. The mark at my belly glowed faintly, thorn crescent, skin silvered over where the blade should have killed me. The beast tore into guards that weren't there anymore. He was lost. Doggone, I said. My voice wasn't loud. It was true. He swung that massive head and stared. He came like a storm. Stopped with his muzzle an inch from my palm. Home, I said. I pressed my hand into fur matted with his blood and mine. Power surged, the bond snapped tight. The beast bucked, the man shoved his way back through his own bones screaming. He collapsed naked, shaking, human. He put his forehead to my knee and whispered, "Raw, don't leave." "I'm not the one who hesitates," I said, and dragged him up. We didn't wait for armies. We walked into Greycourt together, leather and bruises and a promise harder than steel. The benches were full. The dais glittered with cowards who thought they were kings. "This isn't law," Doggone said, voice flat. "It's fear in a robe. Take it off." Marlowe flicked 2 fingers. Blade sang. Blackguard peeled left to hold the line. Doggone met them like he was born with a knife in his hand. He didn't rage. He calculated. And he didn't miss. I went for Harrow. He used Corin Hale as a shield because men like him always do. I stepped left. He stepped right. We danced 10 years of my life in 3 seconds. "Dead looked good on you," he panted. "Try it on," I said, and knocked the dagger out of his hand. He lunged. I put my thumb in his eye. He screamed. I didn't feel anything. I didn't give a speech. I ended it. He hit the stone like a sack splitting open. The room went very quiet. Doggone dropped the last elite with an elbow that shattered teeth. Corin Hale knelt first, bloody and smart. "Majesty," he said to the floor. "My queen." He meant it the way men mean something when they want to live. Others followed. Swords kissed stone. The sound of submission is softer than you think. It still fills a room. Doggone looked at me. He sank to one knee. He took my hand. He bowed his head. Not theater. Penitence. Partnership. The kind that remakes you. "Stand," I told him, and he did. We hanged Marlowe by law he wrote for other men. Corin swore with his blood and started putting it where his mouth had been. Sable moved the archives out of the council's reach, built a room that hurt to lie in. I burned the doll they said proved I was a witch and let the ashes smear on my palm like war paint. People brought their daughters to the palace steps. They watched Doggone looking at me like I was the first dawn he'd earned and decided maybe monsters could be loved if someone taught them what hands are for besides killing. Nights, the beast paced under his skin and I'd lay my palm on his chest and say, "Here." He'd breathe like it was hard work. "Maybe it is, when you've taught your lungs to run on rage." He asked once, quiet, in the dark, "Does it end?" "No," I said. We get better at holding it. He laughed into my collarbone, and it didn't sound like a weapon. Peace isn't soft. It's a grindstone. We cut the council down to people who'd rather eat than be admired. We put food in the low marches and teeth on the border. Dagon stopped 3 raids by showing up first. I sat with widows and made law that didn't ask how pretty your apology was. Sable and I opened the basin. We didn't drown. We learned why the curse never broke. A king 3 generations back had bound the beast to the crown because he didn't trust his sons. We unknotted it in a room that smelled like iron and old grief. Dagon staggered, then he stood straighter. When the goddess finally felt like blinking at us, she did it by way of a harvest moon and a child with eyes the color of honest metal. Dagon cried. He hit it badly. I didn't tease him. The beast slept like a dog at our feet. They still came, the ones who needed to prove a point with blood. The harvest moot stood up and shouted, "Old rule," and an alpha from the eastern ridge stepped into the circle with his shirt off and his pride oiled. "Trial by dominance," he said. "King or coward?" Dagon took off his crown and tossed it to Sable. "Hold that." He didn't turn monster. He didn't need to. He put the man down fast and clean, broke nothing he didn't have to, and when the alpha offered his throat, Dagon stepped back instead of forward. The crowd understood something new that day: power doesn't have to eat to be real. Harrow left a stain, and stains find ways to walk. A cousin surfaced with money that wasn't his and men who'd do anything for it. He tried to get to me through the kitchen corridor where the torches burn low. He found Sable instead. She put a pin through his tongue and led him into the hall like a lesson. Dagon didn't roar. He took the knife. He put it on the table. "You can watch," he told me. "I've watched enough," I said, and took the blade. The cousin pissed himself. Justice is cleaner when it isn't angry. I made it clean. We stood on the same crack in the same stone where Harrow slapped me. It was still crooked. Dagon's hand was warm, rough, steady. "You draw doors," he said. "I'll break walls." "Don't make me fix you," I said. "Fix yourself and meet me there." He nodded. The beast shifted under his skin and didn't take him with it. Outside, the city howled. Not fear. Not worship. Recognition. We didn't promise forever. We promised today, and then we kept showing up for the next one. That's the only vow that works. A winter fever hit the low quarter. Old men with soft hands told me to burn the houses. We opened the granaries, set up cots in the drill yard, sent for healers in the high valleys who still pray to the moon the old way. We lost some. We saved more. Dagon carried a boy for 3 streets who kept asking if the king bites. "Only people who hit girls," Dagon said, deadpan. The boy stared at me. "You must have been hit a lot." We all laughed. It was ugly and honest and necessary. People want their queens pretty and quiet. I learned to be sharp and useful. I went to the mines and made the foreman show me the air shaft he'd sealed to cut costs. I threatened to bury him in it. He opened it. Men stopped coughing blood. I went to the river and tore down the private mill someone had built to steal the current. They called me witch again. I let them. It gets results. At night I drew charcoal under my nails like a reminder. Dagon watched the lines become wolves that ran without being told where to go. "That's what I want for them," he said. "To run because they can." Sable got old in one summer. I found her in the archive with the basin light on her face making maps of where time would take her. "It will outlast us," she said. "The lies. The fixing. The need. Hold the rope anyway." She pressed a ring into my palm, iron, plain, heavy. Archivist's seal. "When I'm ash, put this on someone who won't be afraid to tell you when you're wrong." "Who?" "You'll know." She died 3 months later, in her chair, a book open on her lap, mouth relaxed like she'd finally won an argument. We took the child to the cliff where Black Spire pretends to be a tree. The wind tried to steal his laugh and failed. Doggon's hand found mine the way it does when he remembers there was a time he didn't believe he'd live long enough for this. You still see the beast when you look at me, he said. I see it, I said. And I see you standing on its neck. He nodded, eyes on the horizon. Harrow is dead. Stains remain, I said. But so do marks. Here. I put my hand flat over his heart. Here. He covered my hand with his. The city breathed. The pack learned. The mountain listened. The river kept running, cracked stone beneath it and all. We didn't fix the world. We made a place inside it where girls don't flinch when footsteps climb the ladder. Where a king kneels because he chooses to, not because someone breaks him. Where monsters do the work, not the talking. And when men lifted their hands, we took them off. The end.